Hey everyone, NinjaSinFrey here. I want to talk about this statement that Sketch, the community manager at 343, posted on the Halo subreddit. In case you weren't aware, the Halo subreddit went on lockdown from December 4 to December 5 because there were so many people being toxic about the game and even getting to the point that some people's personal information were being leaked as a result of it. I'm not gonna read the entire message, but if you want to, I will leave a link in the description if you want to read it yourself. I want to specifically talk about his reasons why playlists were lacking for the beta and even now with the release that we got on December 8 and why I disagree with it. So here is what he said. The launch playlists were set up as they were to take a measured approach. We have UI limitations with the game right now in the way and number of playlists that are exposed. We have complex and not ideal progression and challenge systems intertwined in playlists and modes that are not necessarily trivial to decouple and change. Yes, the entire challenge/progression system needs a lot of work, something the team is acutely aware of and prioritizing. The team's plans for a Slayer playlist I think are more robust than one might suffice for an interim solution. I love the ideas and some of the variants they're working on. Those all require tuning and most importantly, testing. QA is a huge dependency and is a critical part of the development pipeline that has been running non-stop for months to launch this game. We are re-evaluating what it would take to potentially just start with a vanilla Slayer playlist as a shorter term addition until the most robust offering is ready. I think the main hurdle that needs to be addressed and may require more time that is feasible before the holiday break is the knock-on effect of challenges and needing to also reassess quick play and what that becomes. Historically, a Slayer-only playlist and an objective-only playlist has always resulted in the objective playlist quickly becoming unhealthy. But maybe we inevitably have no other choice but to go down that route until more robust systems are available. It's just not quite as trivial as pushing a button. And at the scale and complexity of this game, any and every change could have a monumental impact in a negative way without extensive testing. Triaging these feedback issues and finding what can we do now is what the team is already doing and will continue doing. Everything has to be tested, everything has downstream dependencies and knock-on effects. And we're 4 days from a global launch with holidays right after. Well, probably by the time you're watching this video, the game is already out. Anyway, what's my take on this? Honestly, as a developer myself, I still think this is quite baffling to me. Because for one thing, 343 had 6 years of development for the game. Yes, I know that development is not always linear. Things rapidly change during development and I understand that. However, they had other references to use for design. They have the older Halo games and the Master Chief Collection to use as reference. Why didn't they just take the design, code, and re-implement it for Halo Infinite? Here's the thing, code can be reusable. If there is a piece of code that you know is reliable, then why not keep using it? There is no need to reinvent the wheel. Design can always be iterated on top of previous designs, which can always lead to fixing previous issues or improving the original design in some cases. So again, it's baffling how this implementation is a step backward from what they did previously. When it comes to a project on the scale of Halo Infinite, typically UI is done separately from actual programmers. Actually, most programmers don't have a good sense of UI, and if anyone has used open source software, I'm sure if you experience how frustrating and not user-friendly it can be at times. The point here is that before a design is finalized to be included in the project, the design has to go through so many iterations and feedback before it gets the approval. Because not everything can work out or be translated one-to-one through coding. Some compromises have to be made, or sometimes the UI needs to be overhauled because it doesn't flow that well. Whatever the case may be, it takes a while before both designers and programmers can agree on a design. That begs the question, why didn't they anticipate that at some point in the future, they will be adding new game modes or playlists? If they knew that they are planning to do this in the future, then from the very start when they were designing the user interface and back-end systems to support it, this wouldn't be an issue. They wouldn't be saying that it's because of a UI limitation. Plus, even if you're not a programmer, I'm sure this is something you'll probably be thinking about. It's always a what if this and that kind of question. For me as a programmer, it's always important to think of different scenarios. If you know that this specific feature is going to scale up at some point in the future, then you must build the foundation to make sure the system can support it. You don't want to get into a situation where you design something and then later on do a radical overhaul because your design could not work the way it's supposed to be. It's a waste of time and resources. And now, I'm sure 343's developers are scrambling to redesign the system they themselves created. And it doesn't help that the holiday season is here. Less people are working around this time of year. So a lot of the redesigns, not just the playlist issue that we have now, but also the XP progression redesign, are likely to be implemented next year once the studio is back up to 100%. But yeah, that's my take on that. A design that has gone through so many stages and yet somehow has managed to fall short. And also one more thing I would like to point out. People are making the assumption that the slipspace engine is supposed to be easier to make changes, but that's not always the case. Anything that has to do with UI, these things can't be easily changed. It may look simple to you, but underneath the buttons and tabs you see, there are so many things that happen behind the scenes that you don't realize. These things do need to be tested before they go into production. It's not simple as dragging a button and calling it a day. And that's probably what Sketch is talking about earlier when he said, "We have complex and not ideal progression and challenge systems intertwined in playlists and modes that are not necessarily trivial to decouple and change." Meaning that whatever they implemented in the multiplayer menu has a lot of tight systems and they need to carefully untangle in a way without breaking something in the process. And my best guess when they said that the engine is supposed to be easier to make changes, they probably mean like being able to create new content like new armor pieces, weapon skins, vehicle skins, and others much more quickly. Anyone familiar with how large MCC patches can be? Well, I'm sure that's one of the things they tried to solve for the slipspace engine. By the way, the slipspace engine isn't really new. It's still based on the same engine used in Halo 5, but obviously overhauled for Halo Infinite. Again, this comes back to my point about being able to reuse code. If you have code that already works, then there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Anyways, moving on to some good news. This coming Tuesday, December 14, they will be implementing a dedicated playlist for Slayer, Fiesta, Free-For-All, and Tactical Slayer or SWAT, which I'm very happy about, you know. It's actually a good thing that they managed to find a way to implement these changes as quickly as they could. Honestly, I can't wait to play Free-For-All, which is absolutely my favorite playlist. Once again, all I'm hoping for is that 343 will bring back the match composer from MCC to Halo Infinite, which I still think is the best system they have designed. Also, I don't know if you guys will be interested in a programming video where I try to replicate the UI and show you how I could make it dynamic in a way if I were to design it, but we'll see. Anyways, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you agree or disagree with 343's statement on UI limitations? Did my video make you learn a different perspective? If you are a developer, coder, designer, whatever it may be, I also want to hear your own thoughts as well. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.
Cause I don't want nobody change me now. Cause I like to be myself. If you're not agree, you can walk away. You can walk away. You can walk away. Something in my mind leads me then, I ain't nobody perfect.